Hi, this is Steven with another Wavestate tutorial. This one is quite straightforward, and in this video I'll show you how to create a nice bass performance. Don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss out on any upcoming tutorials, which I'm working on right now by the way, and smash that like button. So, as you can see, I floated this bass tutorial performance and it consists out of 3 layers. Now let's start with layer A. Now layer A is our sustained bass sound, and for a nice sustained bass sound we usually like to use a sine wave, because the sine wave is a very nice wave shape for bass. But I didn't just use a sine wave because that would sound a little bit boring. At our lanes, sample, and then I used 2 samples. Now the first sample is a triangle wave shape, and the second sample is our sine wave shape. And what I did was, if you go to the timing lane, you can see there are 2 steps. And if I go further, oh yeah, by the way, I'm using X fade, really important. So step 1 is just quite a fast sounding step. Now let's go to our second step, and this is really important. I use the second step as a gate. And what can we do with this? Well, we can actually just sustain one sample forever, so it's not in a loop. So the timing lane, it goes from 1 to 2, and then it just sustains number 2. And this way, as you can see, it goes really fast from 1 to 2, and this means I'm actually fading 2 samples. I am just fading the triangle shape towards the sine wave shape. And if we actually, maybe we can make this a little bit longer so you can hear it better. So our triangle into the sine wave. But I just use a short sound, something like this. What else did I use for layer A? I also think I used some filtering. Let me see that. So if we press enter and we turn one of these knobs, we just go towards them, towards the settings, without actually changing the settings. So that's really cool, as you can see right here. Just a little bit of cutoff to get rid of that nasty high frequency buzz that comes from our triangle shape, something like this. Did I actually? Nah, this is quite straightforward. Okay, the amp envelope, I didn't use a really hard attack, so hard attack. Okay, so I cut off a little bit of that attack, and this gives us space for layer B, and layer B is actually samples of guitar. So pick attack, finger attack, slap bass, stuff like that. Now let's move on to layer B. As you can hear, layer B doesn't sustain forever. You can see the amp envelope settings right here. Now for timing, I just used 1 step, and it's probably a gate. Yes, it's a gate. Now let's go to our sample page. Okay, so I used a loop from A1 to A6, but really important, I'm using random order. And you can do this by pressing shift and pressing this button, random order. And what it actually does is, as you can see, I have 6 different samples. If you press enter and press one of these keys, you can rehearse only 1 sample. So this is first sample, second sample, third, fourth, fifth, and sixth. And this way we create some variation on the attack of our bass sound. And I think the cool part is that I used sine wave stuff, I use synth stuff mixed with samples, and I also use wave sequencing, so it's kind of to create an interesting bass sound. Actually, it's quite straightforward if you just hear the bass, but if we hear everything again, so the things I did to this patch are quite subtle, but it creates a unique performance, and that's what I really like about the Wavestate, especially with layer B, those random samples, really cool stuff. So if you look back at layer B, the timing is just a gate, and we are using 6 different samples. And we are also using the amp envelope to make sure our samples don't sustain. So I'm really using the pick attack or slap bass attack only for this performance. So if we listen to A and B again, this is kind of like a real bass guitar, but the sustain is coming from a sine wave. Now let's move on to layer number 3. Layer 3 is actually used to get more mids into the sound, and I mean mid frequencies. And what I did is I used a gate again for the timing, and I used only one sample. And you can of course choose another sample. But I like this one. Okay, really important, this layer C is actually 1 octave above the other 2 layers. As you can see, transposed 12 semitones, whatever. Let's check out the filter. Just like this, and that's basically it. What else did I use? I think I also used the shape. So this patch, I mean this layer also sustains, so together with layer A, as you can hear. So layer C gives us some more harmonic overtones. And as you can see, the shape right here is the pulse long, and the offset is at 0.60. So this is our basic explanation of all 3 layers. Now let's move on to some settings. If you press perform, you go to this page, layer programs. I put the volume of layer B a little bit down, and layer C as well. What else did I do? Low fade and high fade just a little bit, but that's not really that much of a difference. And what else? Oh yeah, the voice assign tab. The voice assign is really important too. I use mono for layer A, B and C. Legato is off. Now for layer B, I used 2 voices and I detuned them slightly. Let's hear how it sounds without detuned. Actually, this should be on 0. This is how layer B would sound with just 1 voice. This is 2 voices. Just sounds a little bit more interesting, at least in my opinion. And for layer C, it's just 1 voice again, but we can also, of course, use more voices for layer C and detune it a little bit. It's just totally up to you. So that's about it. Now let's look at our effects. So layer A has modern compressor, just to make it sound a little bit more even. Layer B has red compressor. This actually makes the sound pop more. This is without, and this is with the compressor. Just gives us a nice attack. And layer C, modern compressor, but it is disabled, so layer C doesn't really have an effects applied. So that's it for this tutorial. I hope you liked it. It's quite straightforward. It's not too difficult. I also ordered a mod wave, so when I receive my mod wave, I will make sure to make some tutorials about the mod wave too. And I hope to see you in the next video. Bye bye.